welcome back to Crazy Crave. Okay, so I'm gonna do something a little bit different this week. I'm going to be doing facts on food. So you're probably wondering, what am I gonna talk about today? What kind of food are you gonna talk about? Well, I mean, it's more like ingredients. So today I'm gonna talk about flour. No, not this kind of flour. This kind of flour. Did you know that there's 27 different kinds of flour? I'm not going to talk about every single one. I'm going to talk about 4 of them, and also the gluten-free ones because my mom is gluten-free. And so she can't have flour or anything. So I'm going to talk to you about all the different kinds of flours that gluten-free people can have. The first one I'm going to talk about is the most famous one that you guys know. It's all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour is obviously the most used kind of flour. It's bleached and is used for pie crust, cookies and quick breads, and pancakes and waffles. It's actually easier to use self-rising flour for cakes and breads and stuff like that rather than using all-purpose flour. The unbleached version is used for yeast breads, Danish pastry, puff pastry, strudel, Yorkshire pudding, eclairs, cream puffs, and popovers. If you guys recognize any of those kinds of things to use for unbleached, let me leave a comment down below, because a few of those I've actually never heard of, those kind of pastries and puddings and whatever they are. It has 8% to 11% gluten, so that means it has like the flour, so 8% to 11% flour in another version. Of course, as I mentioned, it's the most common flour. Another one is almond flour. Almond flour is gluten-free, and it's you don't need a lot of it for the moistness, and it's used for pastry, crusts, and cookies. It's a really nice one because, again, as I said, you don't need a lot of it because it has a lot of moist inside of it. So that's the benefit of almond flour. Did you know you can make your own almond flour? You just take a bunch of almonds, grind it in your blender, and then you have almond flour until it's this nice powdery texture. So you can make a lot of these flours at homes for gluten-free stuff. Another one is bread flour. It's high gluten in wheat and is unbleached. It's conditioned in absorbic acid, which increases volume and creates a better texture. It has 12% to 14% gluten and works best in yeast products. The last one I'm going to mention is whole wheat flour. It has a low gluten, also known as graham flour, is made from whole kernel and wheat. It's higher in dietary fiber and has an overall nutrient content than white flour. When making yeast breads, you would usually mix it with all-purpose flour or bread flour. Whole wheat flour is equivalent to British whole meal flour. Yeah, so whole wheat flour is really dry, so that's why you need the all-purpose flour. Otherwise, your breads will be like really dry to eat and it won't taste that great. So that's why you need the moistness with it. So you could probably, if you don't want to use all-purpose flour, you could add probably almond flour because that has a lot of moist, but you wouldn't add a lot of it because, again, it has a lot of moist, so yeah. Now I have a list on my notebook that I wrote because there's so many other flours than those 4. So I'm just gonna mention them, mention if they're gluten-free or not, if they have a low gluten, those kind of things. So the other flours are barley flour is low in gluten, amaranth flour is gluten-free, buckwheat flour is gluten-free, cake flour is soft wheat flour, chickpea flour is gluten-free, coconut flour is gluten-free, corn flour is gluten-free, instant flour is not, it's not a substitute for all-purpose flour. I can't remember what it's actually used for, but you can't substitute instant flour for, like, when you're making cookies or something. Millet flour is gluten-free, oat flour is gluten-free. Again, oats, you can just take oats that you use for oatmeal, put it in the blender, and blend it up, and then you have your gluten-free flour, so yeah. Organic flour is used in the same way as regular flour, it's just healthier because it's kind of straight from the grains, I guess. Pastry flour is in between all-purpose flour and cake flour, so it's partially on the all-purpose flour side and partially on the cake flour, which is used for cakes. Pumpernickle flour is low gluten. Quinoa flour is gluten-free. Rice flour is gluten-free. Rye flour is low gluten. Self-rising flour is low protein with baking powder. So the baking powder makes it self-rising, so that's why it's called that. Semolina flour is used for pasta and Italian puddings, so not used for baking. It's used for like puddings and pasta, so yeah. Sarghum flour is gluten-free, soy flour is gluten-free, spelt flour is low gluten, tapioca flour is gluten-free, and teff flour is gluten-free. I'll leave all these down below so that you know how to search them up and know how to spell them, because I mean, these sound a lot different than they look. What I find best, I have a lot of information again on my notebook, for gluten-free flour is teff flour. Teff flour is higher in protein than wheat, lots of nutrients such as calcium, thiamine, and iron, which you need in your body throughout the day. It's a benefit to people with diabetes because it helps control your blood sugar levels and is excellent for dark breads and rye breads. So this is a really nice one. It's really healthy. I think it's actually healthier than whole wheat flour. So I would suggest this one. Another one, if you're not very interested in this one, is the quinoa flour. It has the most nutrients grain flour available in the world, and is a grass seed, not grain. So it's not from the grain, it's from grass or seeds or whatever. It's great for gluten-free, vegan, or vegetarian people. It can substitute this. You can substitute this flour for half of the all-purpose flour. So if your recipe calls for 1 cup of all-purpose flour, it means that you would only put half a cup of flour, which is actually saving a lot of money. The catch is that it's really expensive. So if you are willing to go that way and use this, then go for it. I mean, but if you can't afford this or something, I would suggest maybe something like almond flour or oat flour, something that you already have in your kitchen. So those are just a few things that I wanted to suggest to you guys about flour. Those are all the facts that I found. If you guys want me to do any kind of other facts, leave a comment down below, or baking ideas, please leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I really hope you guys all have a great holiday this winter, and I hope that it's a great season for you guys, and it's my favorite season, so I really hope you guys have a great holiday. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!